It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to welcome everybody to our Monday, January 6th, 2025 meeting. And at this time, I would like to call Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman Brandon King to do the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this time that you've given us. Thank you for the opportunity we have. Please be with everybody in the eastern part, the western part of the state and the northern part of the state as they're going through this new storm with the ice and snow. Just be with us tonight as we try to conduct the county's business and move us in a direction that's positive, move us in the right direction for the people. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I'd like to make a motion, we amend the agenda and add number 2, right before public comment period, Representative Wayne Sasser to the agenda.
okay, all in favor? I need a second.
Second.
Now, all in favor? Okay, so move into number 2. Okay, first agenda item is a retirement for Ms. Patricia Hancock. It's all to there. Announcement to make it. Ms. Patricia Hancock's going to be leaving us, and we hate to hear that, but I'm sure she's got something better planned in the future. But Patricia Hancock began her career in Stanley County in 1998 as a family planning coordinator in the general clinic. She has served in various roles within the public health throughout the years, accumulating in her role as a public health nurse supervisor, where she serves as a director of nursing. Throughout her career, she worked to further her education and training as she obtained her extended role nurse, ERN, and certification in public health nursing. She has worked across the clinic specialties including maternal health, family planning, adult health, child health, communicable diseases, and preparedness. In her free time, Patricia loves spending time with her husband and 2 sons. She loves to visit Florida to see her son and future daughter-in-law and work in her greenhouse. I want to congratulate Patricia on her retirement. If you turn up here, and on behalf of the county, I'll give you a little token of your retirement here. And would you like to have that copy too?
Yes, please.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for everything. Can we get a quick photo? Yeah, right, yeah.
What can we do to keep you out of retirement?
It's great.
1, 2.
I think her husband's getting her
Oh, sorry.
Sit down, Charles.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you so much.
Enjoy retirement.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Patricia.
Oh, retired now?
Okay, now we've moved Representative Sasser into the number 2 spot, and if he would like to come forward and speak to us, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners, for allowing me to be on the agenda tonight. Got a couple just first things I'd like to mention. Probably the most important, or at least the most important to me, like to announce that my second granddaughter was born yesterday. And Mama and baby are doing fine, so thank you, Lord. And the second thing I'd like to take is just the opportunity to thank all the voters of Stanley County that have allowed me to represent them in Raleigh for the last 6 years. It's definitely been an honor and a privilege, and wanted to thank them. My basic comments are, and I've never used this platform before because as an elected official, I just kind of thought it was part of my job to accept that everybody didn't agree with what I have done and will do, and I know y'all all live in that same world. But I always tried to make the decisions that would benefit the most people in Stanley County, and accepting the responsibility that you never make everybody happy. And kind of my motto has always been the start of the Serenity Prayer, which says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I could take your time and the citizens' time and talk about the $200 million I was able to bring back to Stanley County, but for the most part, most people, thought that was a good thing, and so I won't waste your time doing that. Although I can tell you there were some people that weren't happy because their municipality didn't get any of that money, or their 501(c) didn't get any of that money, but the state didn't give me $200 million for me to distribute. You had to work within the perimeters of where the money was, and so we helped a lot of people in Stanley County, and sorry we just didn't get to help everybody. So, but I would like to take a little bit of your time and talk about 3 bills in the last 6 years that I voted for, that I kind of got the most pushback on, and try to, I'm not trying to make my case, I'm just trying to educate how I got to the point that I got. 2 of these bills were override bills that the governor had vetoed. The most recent was that impacts probably U.S. commissioners the most was Senate Bill 382. First of all, SB means Senate bill. It came from the Senate. Nothing in that bill had been through any committee in the House and had not been properly vetted. Now, that statement doesn't mean it's a bad bill. It just means it wasn't treated like normal bills are, and I'll talk a little bit about why it was. It just ended up being an extremely large bill. The Western Carolina political science professor, who is probably quoted more as the conservative representative on the liberal WRAL, Charlotte Observer, all the liberal media, said that this bill was the most important bill to be passed in Raleigh ever. So, again, not trying to trash the bill, although there was, one specific part that was really garbage. The simple facts of the time frame, the reason this bill ended up being what it was a simple fact that the House lost their supermajority. And the supermajority To override a veto, you have to have 3/5 of the members that are present when the bill's voted on to override, which 3/5, 60%. Now, if everybody's there, the whole 120 members, you have to have 72. Well, for the last 2 years, we've had 72 members. I think we overrode something like 29 of the governor's vetoes, and it was a lot of fun. But next year, we'll only have 71. We'll still be able to override some vetoes. Democrats, a lot of them will go along with us, but it won't be a given. So that's the reason this bill happened in a hurried-up process and was not vetted properly, to be honest with you. The bill passed we passed a bill in 2024 that made the county and state board of elections 2 members from each party forever, like for 100 years in North Carolina. It was 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans. Now, we didn't turn it to 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats. We changed it to 2 and 2. But the governor wasn't happy with being fair, so he sued us. So they came back with Senate Bill 382 and changed it to 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, and took the appointments away from the governor and gave it to the auditor. Now, the reason the auditor was chosen because he is the one person in state government that can audit any government venue that he chooses to audit. So if there's, some crazy stuff going on with elections, and I don't know if y'all have kept up with the North Carolina Supreme Court election, but there's a question about 60,000 votes in North Carolina, and that those 60,000 voters did not have proper identification to vote. According to the Constitution, which has been sued for 4 years and finally got through the courts and is supposed to be law, those people were not supposed to vote. Their votes were not supposed to be counted. I'll put it that way. So this is just one of the important things that was in Senate Bill 382. This provision that we're talking about that affects Stanly County, out of a bill that was 143 pages long, was on page 131. Nobody in the House knew anything about that provision. We got the bill from the Senate where it passed unanimously. It did not pass the House unanimously, but it did pass the House with a large majority. And then after the governor vetoed, we got to read the bill and figured out this provision was going to have a negative impact on a lot of small counties that were being impacted by too much growth. So a group of us representatives got together with the House leadership and basically threatened to veto the bill. And so we got confirmation from the House leadership and the Senate leadership that they would take this provision out. In a veto override vote, it's a straight up or straight down. There's no amendments, there's no way to take it out, and we could have defeated the bill, but the Senate had already adjourned what's called sine die, which means they could not come back till January the 8th, this Wednesday. They'll go back in session and everybody will be sworn in. So as I said again, all the Senate had voted unanimously to override the veto, and eventually all the House members voted to override. Now, there ended up being 2 Democrats that didn't show up for the vote, so I could have still voted no, but the bill would have passed anyway. But we have been assured that will be taken out. The other override bill that got a lot of flack over, for lack of a better word, was the abortion bill that where we changed the legal abortion weeks from 20 weeks down to 12 weeks, and the confusion, or what people weren't seem to be happy about it. I was told I didn't vote for a 6-week abortion bill. There never was a 6-week abortion bill on the House floor. So it was either vote for a 12-week, or if I had voted against a 12-week, it would have stayed at 20 weeks. So if you know the facts, I'm just telling you, every one of y'all sitting there would have voted for the 12-week bill. If there would have been a 0-week bill on the House floor, I would have voted for it. If there would have been a 6-week, I would have voted for it. I voted for the 12-week, but if it would have been a 19-week and it just reduced it 1 week, I would have voted for it. But and then the last bill, which was not a veto bill, was the Medicaid expansion bill. Voting for that bill never was a question about making the people of North Carolina pay for Medicaid expansion. The people of North Carolina have been paying for Medicaid expansion since 2010. When Medicaid, when the Obamacare bill passed and health coverage was basically given to every citizen of America, the federal government required the insurance companies to pay for the extra cost of Obamacare. Basically what that means is every citizen that was paying for their health insurance, or every government, or as in my case, every employer that was paying for health insurance, their premiums went up 4- and 5-fold. Basically, roughly 2010 was about $200 a month, and now it's $800 plus. And is it a tax? Well, yeah, you can call it a tax, but again, it never was part of the tax statute. It was done through the insurance companies, and we were paying for it. We're not paying any more today because North Carolina went on. We were just paying for all these other states. The reason that the North Carolina Republicans had fought this for 10 or 12 years, they were convinced that when the Republicans got control of the House and the Senate, that they would repeal Obamacare. And then the U.S. Supreme Court told them that they couldn't repeal Obamacare. So the choice North Carolina had to make was, we're already paying for it. Do we want to provide it to our citizens, or do we want to keep denying, something that we're paying for? It's like, buying a pie and giving it to somebody else to eat, and you're not getting a piece of it. So, on the Medicaid expansion deal, the Senate voted unanimously to expand Medicaid. They sent it to the House, and again, that was Senate Bill 20. It's another Senate bill that came from the Senate to the House. The House did not pass Medicaid expansion unanimously, but I was a no vote, and the leadership basically offered Stanley County $100 million if I would vote for it, and we all have a price, so that was my price, and voting no wouldn't have changed where the bill passed or didn't pass, so I thought it was a pretty good trade-off. Basically, I thank you for your time. I'm here tonight as a citizen, not as an elected official. It's a really good feeling. You'll enjoy it when you get there. But anytime if you don't understand something or how it goes on or why it goes on, and y'all been in politics now long enough to understand it's kind of strange most days. But there is a kind of a reason to the madness, and I'll be more than happy at any time to make myself available. And if not, and not giving you advice, I'm just trying to explain how things work down there, or a lot of days don't work. And but thank you for your time, and God bless you, and thank you for serving people of Stanley County.
Can we ask a question?
Certainly.
I had a couple, Wayne.
Yeah, sure.
No one's going to vote against the Western North Carolina relief, and that's what this was tied to. So
Well-
whenever the bill come through, it was tied to the relief for Western North Carolina.
Yep, $272 million.
Right.
Interesting thing, Commissioner Mills, the 4 people that voted against it the first time were the 4 members from
the
Western
mountains.
North Carolina, because they didn't think it was enough. But again, if you understand the laws, North Carolina has like $5 billion in a rainy day fund. I mean, we're in a great place. We don't have to borrow that money. We don't have to, figure out where to get it. But if we go spend our $5 billion in Western North Carolina before the federal government spends their money, we don't get credit for it. The way it's going to be like $50 billion to fix Western North Carolina, and that's just a big guesstimate. But it's a 90-10 deal. But the feds have to spend their money, and then we spend 10%. They spend their money, and then I didn't make the rules, but I have to play by them. So
Is that the reason that the money, the $225 million, that only $2 million was sent to the mountains and the other $200 million was put in another fund in Raleigh?
well,
Because of the federal government.
exactly. It's kind of like, and y'all have probably read about the road that, and most of the bridges that were wiped out in Western North Carolina were local bridges put in by the developer or whatever. It wasn't DOT type bridges. Well, this one nice development, their bridge washed out. They went in themselves, put the bridge in, got going back and forth. Well, then DOT gets there, puts a low water, wasn't even a bridge, it was just a way to get across the water, and they had another 2 inches of rain. It washed the DOT part out, and the local bridge is still there and fine, but DOT dug out and put rocks up where they couldn't use it. So there's always instances that things don't make a lot of sense, but I'm getting off track. But
One of the things on the bill, it said no local government initiated downzoning without the consent of all affected property owners. Downzoning property was taken away, creating or initiating nonconformities beyond the current what exists. For example, if I have land and it's not zoned for chicken houses, then someone could come in with chicken houses right now and we couldn't do anything about it, right?
I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to tell you you're right, but my guesstimate is you're right.
And it also reduces that to where each property owner must agree to whatever zoning, and that was, I think, number 3. All property owners must agree to whatever zoning that we amend to, or, is that right?
I would assume that would mean adjacent property owners, because if you buy a big piece of property and going to build a bunch of houses there, you are the property owner for everybody, but I would assume that means adjacent property owners.
Whenever when this was approved, the first thing I noticed is that it takes all of the local government out and the state, just overrode, so it kind of ties the commissioner's hands.
And not just Stanley County commissioners, but all commissioners. Again, what we were told, I have no idea. I wasn't in the room, have anything to do with that. It was done for Durham County. And that's all I know. And where that's the truth or where it's fabricated, I don't know. But had it been in there for, and written up for Durham County only, I'd vote for it. I don't care what goes on in Durham County. I'm sorry. I represent Stanley and Montgomery County. But it impacted a lot of smaller counties that, that are close to Raleigh, close to Greensboro, close to Charlotte. So,
The reason I asked those questions, I had some property owners ask me, said, what can we do, especially, say, farmers or rural areas or, say, Moore Mountain? Because right now, if a developer comes in and that area is zoned for that particular whatever they're going to build, there's nothing we can do.
now, you got, and again, I'm not in the legislature anymore. I just know what we've been promised, and it was more than, one or two of us have been promised. But they should have all that taken care of in January. So, where you can do the slow treatment or whatever, I'm not giving you advice, but it will be, it's not gonna be amended, it's not gonna be, we've told up front it's gonna be taken out.
Thank you.
I have a question,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Sasser. So you were told it's going to be taken out. What kind of confirmation do you have? Was that in writing?
No.
Just a handshake, basically?
Well, yeah, but we were told by the leadership in the House and the leadership in the Senate, and I don't mind standing here and telling you, I don't believe a whole lot, rumors I hear from the Senate. We don't necessarily get along, very well, but we were promised by both leadership that it would be taken out.
So it was, and I understand it was a long bill, 143 pages. I think you said nobody really knew that was in the bill when it was voted on?
No, we got it 30 minutes. The Senate passed it. And this is just kind of normal operating. We're sitting here doing nothing for 2 hours while the Senate's passing it. Finally, they get it passed, send it over to us, and the Speaker said, going to give you a 30-minute break where the Democrats can read the bill like they can, go through a 143-page bill in 30 minutes. But so we had no opportunity to, and that's not normal, okay? Now,
Well-
excuse me.
I just would like to say, I'm glad it's not normal. And I think it does happen. I mean, we've seen these bills stuffed with pork many times. And I think that this is a good case in point of why people don't trust our government anymore. And it's very, very disheartening because we've worked so hard on this commission to create policies around our land to protect our farmers and to conserve our land so that we're not outgrowing it at a pace where we don't have facilities in place or the infrastructure in place. So I would like to just say there's not a lot we can do. On this board, there's not a lot I can do, but my vote is what I can do. And so I hope that those that are in Raleigh will remember whether they vote this way or that way, and it's not going to matter because certain people didn't show up or whatever for the vote, that you vote because that's your voice, and you vote whatever it is, because that's the only thing you can do.
Well, I will just say, Commissioner Crump, that I'm 100% behind what y'all did with the land use plan. And had we known the normal process, by the time a bill gets through 3 or 4 committees and, has been vetted and so on and so forth, garbage like this doesn't happen. But again, we got 2 or 3 days to pass a bill that was really a good bill, okay? I'm going to take up for the bill. Took the Highway Patrol and made them a separate unit, did some really good things, and ended up making the Western North Carolina amount right at $1 billion. So a lot of good things in there, just happen to have this piece of junk in there, and
I agree. The rest of the bill looked really good.
Yep.
I just, when this is slid in at the last minute to deceive the people, and I'm not accusing you of that, I'm accusing the people that gave it to you 30 minutes before the vote was asked for. This is why people don't trust.
I don't think, and because they were more than willing to take it out, I just don't think they really thought it out. And had it gone through a committee process like it should have, it would have died the first committee. But it is what it is, and we've been assured that it'll be fixed, and I'm gonna, accept that man to man. And I don't mind telling you, I told the House leadership, I know you're gonna do this, because if you don't, I'll burn your house down.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. How are we going to know if they fix it? Are you going to follow up with them January the 8th and say, did you do what you're going to do?
Oh, yeah. And
Will you let us know?
And yes, I definitely will. And Cody will do the same.
I know you will, but I want to let the rest of Stanley County know
Right.
ASAP.
Mr. Sasser, this bill, usually when you approve a bill, it starts the first of the year. Is that normal?
That's no, well, not necessarily, but it has a date on it. So, yeah, it
This
is law.
This particular bill rescinded everything that had been accomplished by the commissioners 180 days prior. Is that unusual?
Oh, totally. I mean, there's no justification for what they did. And again, they were looking, what we've been told, with very narrow blinders on, and this just applied to Durham County. Why they didn't make it, I can't answer, because, like I said, it came out of the Senate, didn't come out of the House.
It really wouldn't matter what sort of legislation that came about. I just see it's wrong to take the local government out of the picture. I think that's,
No question.
why do we even have commissioners if they're going to do that?
No question, 100%. And that's what they were told, and I was really surprised, they didn't say, well, we'll amend it and we'll just leave it for Durham. They said, we'll take it out, just that. So we'll see,
Thank you, Wayne.
but I will definitely follow up.
We appreciate you coming out and speaking to us.
Thank you very much.
Wayne,
Yes, sir.
I'm not gonna fuss at you.
No, that's all right.
I know how hard you've worked for Stanley County, and I think part of Rowan, part of the time.
I've had
Cabarrus.
part of Cabarrus, part of
Yeah,
Rowan.
But I know how
All
hard
of the
you've
government.
worked, and I applaud you for the commitment you've had as a representative. And I'm always pleased to say that you were my representative.
Well, thank you, sir.
for what you have done.
Thank you for allowing me to do it. And where you agree with what I did or not, I promise you I worked hard. Okay? That's the only thing I can stand up here and tell you 100%. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wayne, for your dedication, man. Okay. All right. Next on the agenda is the public comment. I don't have anybody signed up, but does anyone here like to speak to the commissioners? All right. If not, we're going to move on then to the Stanley County Arts Council resolution. Ms. Kelly Dombrowski, Chair of the Stanley County Arts, would you come forward?
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you tonight. My name is Kelly Dombrowski. I am the chairman of the Stanley County Arts Council here, and I am joined this evening by our executive director, Renee Van Horn, council members Colleen Barfield, and Ms. Patty Furr. We are here tonight to present and ask for your support of the resolution to move our council from a provisional status to a designated status. And this approval of this resolution will acknowledge the Stanley County Arts Council as the designated arts council for the county, and helping to bring and approve programming for our arts programs here in the county. God bless you. The resolution that you all have before you at this time reads that the resolution recognizes Stanley County Arts Council as the designated arts council for Stanley County, authorizing them to apply for, receive, and re-grant state and federal arts funding in Stanley County, North Carolina. Whereas the Stanley County Arts Council was incorporated in 1974 and has been the only arts council, also known as a local arts agency, in Stanley County since 1974. Whereas the Stanley County Arts Council has been the recipient of state arts funding and re-granting partner of the North Carolina Arts Council on behalf of Stanley County since 1974. And whereas the Stanley Council Arts Council has previously received local community funding for the purpose of re-granting to other local arts organizations. Whereas the mission of the Stanley County Arts Council is to encourage and promote broad-based cultural and educational activities in the arts throughout Stanley County, the Arts Council fulfills this mission by serving artists and art organizations in the county. Whereas American for the Arts states that the role of local arts agencies or arts councils is to promote, support, and develop the arts at the local level, ensuring vital presence for the arts throughout America's communities. And whereas the National Endowment for the Arts identifies local arts agencies or arts councils as critical partners for dispersing arts funding because local arts agencies have the closest ties to arts organizations in our local communities. Now therefore be it resolved by the Stanley County Board of Commissioners as follows. 1, that the Stanley County Arts Council is the designated local arts agency for Stanley County and has the authority to apply for, receive, and re-grant state and federal arts funding in Stanley County. 2, that the Stanley County Arts Council will notify county staff before submitting funding requests, as well as notify when funding is received. And 3, that the Stanley County Board of Commissioners reserves the right to include a representative on grant selection panels and/or project teams. We would like to ask that this be approved this evening and move us from provisional to designated status.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the resolution as presented.
I have a motion, I have a second. A motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. And resolution passed.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing you at our arts events.
Next on it is the North Carolina 911 Board Facility Grant Funds and Consultant Contract, and the presenter is Kyle Griffin, the 911 Director.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Thank you for your time tonight. Stanley County was recently awarded a grant from the North Carolina 911 Board. This grant, the scope of it is for the proposed 911 and Emergency Operations Center. The county was awarded $2,414,424.11. The 911 Board employs a tiered approach to funding grants using the North Carolina Department of Commerce tier designation. As a Tier 2 county, we were eligible up to 85% of our total grant request, and I'm pleased to tell you tonight that we received the max, which is 85% of our total request. The grant funds are designated for a portion of construction and other associated 911 costs as defined by the grant agreement. Included as part of the grant is professional services from Mission Critical Partners for technology management and facility migration support. Mission Critical has been instrumental in our public safety data system transition, as well as facility design review and several other projects. Their knowledge and resources have proved to be extremely beneficial on such complex projects. Tonight, I'm requesting your consideration on the following items. Adopt a budget amendment recognizing the grant proceeds in the amount of $2,414,425 rounded. In the ETSF account, consider appropriating fund balance for the portion of the mentioned professional services not covered in the grant in the amount of $30,000. And lastly, authorize staff to execute a contract with Mission Critical Partners based on the included statement of work for technology management and facility migration support for the proposed 911 EOC facility. And I'll be happy to answer any of your questions.
Any questions from anyone?
Comment. Appreciate the work
Absolutely.
in order to achieve this grant. And now all we need to do is approve it.
There we go.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to adopt the budget amendment recognizing grant proceeds in the amount of $2,414,425 rounded in the Emergency Telephone System Fund, known as the ETSF, and also consider appropriating fund balances for the portion of the mentioned professional services not covered by the grant in the amount of $30,000, and authorizing staff to execute a contract with Mission Critical Partners based on their attached statement of work, which all of us have had the opportunity to review in our package. Work for technology management and facility migration support services for the proposed 911 in the EOC emergency emergency facility. So that's a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Lawhon, for the motion. I have a second.
Second.
Commissioner King. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
Thank y'all.
How's the transition going with the software?
We're making progress every day. Changing something after 25 years has had its fair share of, there's been its fair share of challenges, but we're making progress. We've got a team here. They actually landed about 2 hours ago. They'll be here the rest of the week with us. So we're hoping to knock a lot more off of our punch list. So, yep. Thank y'all.
Okay, next on the agenda is the updated internet policy to comply with North Carolina General Statute 143-805. Presenter, Mr. Andy Lucas.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Not exactly sure why the General Assembly felt we needed this policy. Seems like common sense that you wouldn't have employees using pornography on public computers, but in order to make sure that we are in compliance, we have updated the section 7.21, our internet security policy, and added provisions to bring us into compliance with the general statute. And so those items are redlined in this. And obviously, once the board approves this, we'll take the red lines out and it'll become formalized in our policy. I'll be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
No questions. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion that we approve the proposed policy update to comply with General Statute 143-805.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion by Vice Chair King, and I have a second by Commissioner Mills. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Next is the 25-26 budget calendar.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. We're at that time again. We're already starting to work on putting things together for the board's planning retreat in February. And so this budget calendar just sort of formalizes dates for us. There's we left open-ended some dates in March or really didn't put specific dates in March and April for joint meetings with the school board and the community college trustee board, but sort of just left that highlighted as a time that we typically do have those meetings, and we'll seek to try to get meetings scheduled with those two boards. But this will sort of formalize this to help staff plan for key dates for when we need to kick things off to internally ensure that our process hits the benchmarks we need in order to get something to you by May 12th with a manager's recommended budget, so we can stay on schedule. So I'll be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Anybody have anything for the county manager?
I'd like to move for approval of the attached budget calendar for fiscal year 2025 to 2026.
I have a motion by Commissioner Crump. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Lawhon. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next on the list is the strategic planning retreat. I think everybody's looked over the dates that we have. The dates are Friday, February 7th, Friday, February 14th, Friday, February 21st. And do I have anyone recommending a certain date?
I believe we discussed Friday, February the 21st, from about 9 a.m. to 3.
Okay, so 21st. Eight. All right, do I need to take a vote on that, or is everybody consensus be okay on that?
I think as long, I mean, I don't know, Jenny, I mean, I guess,
Mr. Chairman, I would just go ahead and
Do-
recommend doing a vote, please.
Okay,
I'll second that motion if you need a second.
all right. Motion was made by Commissioner Crump, second by Commissioner Mills. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
thank you.
Last thing we have on the agenda is the consent agenda. Everybody looked over it.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion the consent agenda be approved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Lawhon for the consent agenda. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner, Vice Chair King. All in favor? Motion carries. And now we have board members' comments. And I'd like to start off on the left down there with Commissioner Mills.
Representative Sasser, I appreciate you being here tonight. Like I said, I've had several residents contact me about Senate Bill 382 and helping explain that. I know that we need to get that revised. Well, we need to take it off as quick as we can. And if there's anything we can do, a resolution, would that help us?
At this point in time, it would not hurt anything.
No.
So, yeah, that would be very appropriate.
Okay. But thank you for being here and explaining that.
Got Commissioner Lawhon.
County dollars or tax dollars that come out of my pocket and your pocket and everybody else's. And Kyle presented tonight a grant, and that grant, it's tax dollars. It's come from the state of North Carolina, but instead of going to another county, it's coming to Stanley County. And those type grants or grants in period are very important, because if we didn't get grant money, we would be having to look at our tax rate often. So I appreciate the associates that work for the county that work on things of that nature. Thank you.
Commissioner Ephraim.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know, are you Representative Sasser now, or are you just plain old Wayne?
That's right, just Wayne.
Wayne, I appreciate you. I know it's hard for you to leave Stanley County sometimes and go to Raleigh, but thank you for all that you've done. And the last thing I have is our thoughts and prayers go out to the tragic events that happened in New Orleans. That was such a sad thing for people celebrating and, bringing in the new year for something like that to happen. And I appreciate the law enforcement, everybody involved with those events and stopping it, and just the protection that our law enforcement give us daily. I certainly appreciate that. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Crump.
I would like to, one more time, thank Patricia Hancock for all of her years serving this county at the Health Department. And I do want to thank you, Mr. Sasser, for being here and explaining that. Very much so. It does shed light on the whole process, and I know that it must be very tough to be in those positions. So thank you for your service. And I also, I want to just talk for just a quick minute. I serve on the Health Board, Health and Human Services Board, I should say. And Dolly Clayton, who is the director of both of those departments, has challenged all of the members to adopt a department within the Human Services or the Health Department, and to really learn more about it and sort of advocate for them. And so I and another board member, Teresa Lanier, had an opportunity to go and visit with the foster care and the Child Protective Services departments 3 weeks ago. And we were able to spend a couple of hours in the department, and boy, were my eyes opened. I could not believe the amount of work that the individuals do in that department, the paperwork and all of that, and you just think about the work, but on top of that, and what's at the core of every single bit of that work is a child, and it's a child that's crying out for help. And so it was just I recommend everybody going and spending a little time and talking with them. It's sad, that we have to be in a position of parenting, when things go awry in the homes. But thank goodness we have people with eyes on the situations, and that will, call for help. And so what I learned is when a call is made to our county, the clock starts ticking, and they have a very short amount of time, about a 48-hour window, to get a whole lot of paperwork done and investigation done in order to figure out if a child is safe and needs to be pulled from their environment. And then there's so many things that go on over a period of the next month to 2 months. But we take on about 45 new cases a month. 45 new cases a month of reports for Child Protective Services. And we've had an overflow here of late. Over the last year, we've said this many times in these meetings, that we've even had to convert a space in our county offices into a bathroom that the children can use, so that we didn't have to take them to the Y. Because at the YMCA, there's just not the privacy. And here, I can tell you, they can have their dignity. We had an opportunity to look at the area, and it is not just a functional space. It is, they've really done a good job, and it's a nice space. And these children get a good plush towel, and then if they end up spending the night or nights, they convert one of the rooms. They turn the lights down low, and they make a bed with a brand new comforter, so that the child can have some dignity and some sort of peace and quiet for a night or however long they're there. One thing that is important to that department is that the child takes that bed and a bag back home with them, so that wherever they end up, they can have their own comforter set. I know they had 2 or 3 left on the shelves when I was there. So I'm just going to put out this plea to anyone. If you want to find a way to give and you're not sure who to give to, a new bed in the bag, a single bed from Amazon is about $30. And if you'd like to do that and bring it up there, I know they would be appreciative, because sadly they're coming off the shelves. So anyway, I just want to put that out there. Thank you to all of our county workers.
Commissioner Hadley?
I just want to again thank Mr. Sasser for years of hard work, and I think just like tonight, Nancy's a little under the weather, and he's here. So he's been dedicated. Thank you, Mr. Sasser.
Vice Chair King?
No comment, none.
Again, I want to thank our or congratulate Ms. Hancock for her retirement, and we're going to miss her. Also like to thank Wayne for coming out and speaking to us and explaining things. I appreciate that. And I like the little emails you've been sending me that's got the little documents in it. Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. If I don't have anything else for anybody, meeting is adjourned.
Can we recess until the 14th? No, 14th, city council at 6 o'clock. If we can back that up and recess, that might be the easiest thing, instead of having to call that meeting.
Okay, so we're going to recess this meeting until,
Recess this meeting until the 14th at 6 o'clock.
so January 14th at 6
6
o'clock.
o'clock at the city council, City Hall in the Ray Allen conference room.
Ray Allen. Meeting is adjourned.
Meeting's recessed.
All right, recycle.